Welcome to the Online Success Journey Podcast, your opportunity to discover and learn from entrepreneurs like yourself. This is not your typical podcast, but a place where you can get the real story and find out how real people encounter speed bumps and detours, but journey through to find success. Now here's your host for the Online Success Journey Podcast, Patience.
Welcome to Online Success Journey. This is episode 332. We have a wonderful guest for you today. So make sure you click at subscribe right now and ensure you'll never miss a journey. I post 1 to 2 episodes each week and each guest has a fascinating story to tell. Joining us today is Robbie Samuels, a speaker, a TEDx speaker, business growth strategy coach, virtual event design consultant, podcast host, and best-selling author. He has helped hundreds of people develop their network, create communities, and grow their businesses. Hello, Robbie.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. I know my audience are excited to hear your story, but just start by telling us one thing we are going to learn from you today that will help us on our journey to success.
I'm going to show people that the size of their email list is not what's holding them back from selling.
I can't wait to hear more about that, but let's get started with the basics. Can you tell my audience a little bit about your background, about what you did before you started your own business?
Well, prior to the pandemic, I had spent over a decade working to become known as a networking expert. Half that time I was still employed, and then I went out to become full-time into entrepreneurship. And I had a talk I was doing all over the place and did a TEDx and launched a podcast and a group coaching program. So I was really heavily invested in becoming known as a networking expert, specifically in the area of conferences. I have a book that I wrote about that came out in 2017. And when March 2020 happened, it was pretty clear that the things I was known for, eye contact, business cards, shaking hands, body language, no one needed that. So I really needed to figure out how to translate what I had been doing, which was really at its core, this belief that events are about content and connection. So once virtual events became synonymous with events, I knew I had to find a way to make that still be true. But I started by just trying to show up and add value. I wrote 9 ways to network in a pandemic on March 12th, 2020. And the next day, which is the day the world sort of hit pause, I hosted my first virtual happy hour. I'm still hosting that free event years later. And while I don't charge for that event, it led to several new revenue streams. And within 8 months, I had a thriving 6-figure company. And this year, I wrote a new book that answers the question, Robbie, how did you do that? Because my new business was about being a virtual event design consultant and an executive Zoom producer, nothing I was known for prior to the pandemic. So the new book, Small List, Big Results, Launch a Successful Offer no matter the size of your email list, it doesn't just answer the question, it also shares how the reader can get similar results no matter the size of their email list.
What a background, Robbie. But why do you do what you do?
Well, I love bringing people together. I love engagement. I love people helping find their people, like whatever would help them thrive in the world. And I think that virtual is a way to do that. And in person, of course, is a way to do that. I also believe the people in my community have great gifts to share with the world. And I want to help them do that and not feel limited by what they've been able to produce as far as an email list. I love the idea of giving people sort of the empowerment to engage with each other.
Let's put man aside. How do you know you are successful?
How do I know I'm successful?
Yes.
I was able to buy a house this year in a very difficult market. Honestly, it's a very tangible success mode. I will say that 2 years ago, this was a very, very far off future. Even a year ago, this was a very, very far off future. And it quickly became apparent that I had the ability to put down a down payment for a beautiful home in a beautiful area. And it's just remarkable. That's one thing tangibly. But the other thing I think is that people hit reply to me all the time in my weekly emails and tell me that it feels like I'm reading their journals or I'm in their head, or they tried the thing I talked about in my book and it helped them. And then they talk about the impact that they're having in the world. So I think the ripple effect that I'm having, the impact that I'm having on the people I work with, and the impact that they then are having on the people they work with, that's success to me. Seeing the progress we're all able to make and help each other make it.
Tell my audience about the magic moment. The date suddenly all went right for you.
Oh gosh. I think there was a moment in the middle of 2020 when I realized I was working so hard that in some ways I didn't have an awareness of what was going on. Like it was just working. That it was going well, that all the work was paying off. And it was there was actually a moment when I got hired by a really big client, and in the email they asked me a question. They said, can you put 10 people in a breakout room for 10 minutes on Zoom, and then later on put 5 people in a breakout room for 10 minutes? Now, the answer is yes. But my response was, I'm not sure why you would want to do that. I know a lot of best practices around how to use breakout rooms, and I wouldn't recommend putting 10 people for 10 minutes. The other person who applied for the role was an internal candidate, and their answer was yes. They wrote me back and said, can you tell us more about these best practices? So I listed out a bunch of them and gave some details, and I got the job because I was strategic. I was a partner. I was a consultant, and not just a person who was pushing buttons to help them open breakout rooms. That was the moment where I realized I had something of value to offer that was different than other people who were calling themselves Zoom producers. And I always want to be the strategic partner, and this was a new area for me. So I think that was a moment of wow, I think this is actually happening.
Wow. Tell us how is having a small list is making entrepreneurs struggle to find clients.
Well, a lot of us didn't start building our email list right away. And even if we started a list, it's not necessarily the right people on the list. We also may have a list that we're not emailing regularly. The best way to not have people unsubscribe is to never email people, but that's not actually good for our business. I think a lot of people only focus on trying to nurture that small list. And that list, by the way, could be small with 2 people or 25 people or 250 people or 2,000 people or 5,000 people. Small is your definition of small. We're always comparing ourselves to other people. But there is a much larger network that we could be reaching out to, because no matter what the size of our list is, we probably have many, many more people in our larger network. So if we are only thinking about trying to launch something with the people on our current email list, one, we're not engaging with them. We're just announcing something, and people don't know they need that. They're not aware that they have that bigger problem. So I walk people through a process in the new book, Small List, Big Results, to wake up their network, discover likely prospects and likely referral partners, and then co-create an offer with them so that you can run a pilot testing out the idea with willing participants who want to give you feedback and want to help you get this off the ground, because it's exactly what they know they need with your help.
As you mentioned, the new entrepreneurs, some of them, they'll be like, isn't it that risky to be just letting people in and seeing all my flaws and everything? Tell us more about it.
Well, I think that they start to see you as a guide, as an expert, as a coach, as a mentor, when you are asking for their feedback and you're listening to them. Being an expert doesn't mean having all the answers. And I think that's actually part of the expert syndrome I write about in the book, is that, when we're an expert, we think we know everything we need. We don't have to talk to anybody, but we're going to miss either like language nuances around how we talk about a problem versus how the likely prospect talks about it. In the book, I have an example. We might say, we have a program for women who are fatigued, but then we interview 12 women and none of them use the word fatigued, but more than half of them say the word exhausted. Then we should probably change the language and how we talk about our program, because people aren't going to see themselves in the copy that we write that uses the word fatigued. They also might help you realize that they're not ready for a mastermind because they need more training. They're not ready to implement. So you need to create programs that provide training. They might let you know that they don't want to do group work around this topic. They really want one-on-one support. You might realize that you just need to text people once a day with an affirmation, and that's all people really want. So I think too often we get really precious about our idea, our how, our process, and honestly, no one cares. What they want to know is, can you help me achieve an outcome that I desire? And once they feel confident that you can, then they want to know how you would do it.
As you mentioned, you've been online for decades now, and you have met aspiring entrepreneurs, and you worked with big companies and all that. But can anyone be an entrepreneur, or are some people more cut out for it than others?
Well, I've always been entrepreneurial. I mean, when I was a kid, I was selling things in school. I got away from it. I got into the world of nonprofit and applied those same skills to raise money, and then got back to it later in life. I think that entrepreneurship is really interesting. People who work within a company can apply these skills, not necessarily to sell something, but you can use the Wake Up Your Network process in the book, and there's a companion toolkit, the Big Results Toolkit bonus content that has a Wake Up Your Network workbook. You can use that to actually help you build support around an idea. So if you're working in a company, you can gain support, gain buy-in around an idea. That's something I've actually been doing, a variation of that since college. So it wasn't that I was selling something, it was that I was trying to get people to kind of come on board around an idea. And the benefit was that the ideas get better, right? Whether it's a solution you're trying to sell or something, a program you're trying to pull together, the ideas get better with more input. People then help you promote and refer people to this to join you. Revolutions in the world don't start by people sitting down and writing up plans. People demand change, and then someone helps orchestrate that change. I think similarly, we need to listen to the people that are around us and understand what is the change they're demanding, and then help them figure out how to achieve that.
What have you learned from business as a whole?
That people are good, that people are kind, people want to help, that if you ask somebody to help you, make it really clear what you're needing and make it really easy for them to do, but that people generally want to be helpful, to not be afraid to reach out. This is how we build relationships, is by asking each other for little things and then over time, bigger things. And if we just stay in our own heads, we're not going to provide the greatest value or have the biggest impact that we could have on the world. That we have to engage with people around the ideas that we have. And if we need help in our business, if we're struggling ourselves, relationships are the answer to every business or life challenge.
What is the most dangerous belief an entrepreneur can have?
Yeah, I think the most dangerous belief is the I know everything. I'm just gonna do it on my own. A lot of people, me included, we get an idea in our heads and we just start tinkering with it. We start building it without any input from likely prospects, and then we wonder why people aren't super excited about it. I think we could all sidestep that by including more people in the process, both likely prospects who could possibly buy it, but also likely referral partners and fellow experts who could help us have a better understanding of the needs of the marketplace and could become referral partners. So I think the other danger that a lot of entrepreneurs have is that we don't want to leave anyone out. So we create these broad categories of who we serve. I serve leaders, I serve women, I serve entrepreneurs. Those categories are so broad, they essentially mean everybody. And that's not the way forward. That's not a way to really speak to people, because they're not going to feel like you're speaking to them when you're speaking generally. So, my programs are really geared towards a little bit of a demographic, but also a psychographic of entrepreneurial women in their 50s and beyond. That's the demographic. Definitely people over their 50s, I would say. But then psychographically, it's people of any gender looking to grow their impact and income. They're ready to apply what they've known and learned for the last 20, 30 years, but they feel like they're starting from a place of not knowing how to do something, and they don't want to waste time, and they want to take action now, and they're ready to get the support they need to make that happen. So that's a psychographic. There's no time to waste. I think it's really key for us to have a better understanding of who we're trying to serve.
Tell us, what is the difference between a little P and a big P problem?
In my book, I talk about how the awareness that we have as experts is very different than the awareness of the people we're trying to help. We have a lot of experience, and we are able to see the landscape differently, and we know what's really kind of getting in the way. What's the big P problem that's getting in the way of a person's success? But from the perspective of the person, they have this like smaller sense of the world. And so what they're struggling with to them is a problem. But from our perspective, it's like, really, that's not the problem. You're struggling, but honestly, that's just a little symptom, and you're not even aware of the fact that there's this whole other thing you're not thinking about. When we create solutions to solve the bigger problem, but our audience, our prospects, still don't know about the bigger problem, they think that the solution is radically disproportionate to what they need. They think this doesn't make any sense at all. Why would you be trying to get me to do the surgery when I just need a Band-Aid? Why? Like, that doesn't make any sense to them. So it's our job, whether it's in our marketing materials, our conversations, our sales conversations, our research calls, it's our job to help people really become aware of the bigger problem. How do we shift people's awareness from that little p to big P? So even me being on this interview is a way for me to help entrepreneurs understand that the little p problem they thought they had was the size of their email list. They thought the reason that they were having trouble selling was the size of their email list. And the solutions, therefore, that they were looking for were ways to build their email list. So they might be looking for someone to help them with email sequences or Facebook ads or lead magnets. And then I show up and I say, hey, by the way, you don't need a bigger email list to achieve great results. You need to tap into your existing network, discover likely prospects who already know, like, and trust you. And I can show you how to do that. So once people become aware of the bigger P problem and they realize, wow, there's actually a way to do this, they then become open to that solution. They might still feel like they can't do it on their own. And that's where you come in, guide, the coach, the mentor, the person who will help them get through this journey. And then the last phase of the awareness is, are they ready to take action now? What is the cost of inaction? What if they don't take action? Now that they know what the bigger problem is, they know there's a solution available that they actually feel like they could do and get great results. They know there's a person available to guide them. What is the cost of inaction? What if they push this off for a year? If they realize that I can't do that, this is really becoming more urgent, they're going to come to you at that point. You're not selling them. You're not pushing them into something. They're ready. They really, really know this is what they need.
If you could rerun the first year of your business, what would you definitely not do?
I would open this book that I just wrote and follow the steps in it. I'm not kidding. Like, oh man, so I spent 5 years speaking on the side, as a side hustle. So, I mean, that experience all counts, but I had a job, so I was making money. I didn't have a lot of expenses and I was making some money on the side. But it didn't really feel like a business until I no longer had an income from a job. And I needed to really figure out who my audience was at that point. And I ended up launching a podcast, which I still think I would have done. I think that was a great thing for me. 5.5 years later, I'm still running this podcast. But I think I would have gone through my existing network and I did apply some of this. I think I did it more happenstance. I had good instincts around it, but I feel like I would have made more progress if I'd done it more methodically. I don't think I knew what a research call was back then. I just, was having conversations, but I was giving away so much free content, so much free advice, really. I think that's the thing I would have changed dramatically, because the free advice doesn't lead, in my experience and the experience of a lot of people I've talked to, it doesn't usually lead to sales, because you overwhelm people with free advice. They take no action, and then they go hire somebody else to help them understand the notes they took, because they don't want to bother you because they feel bad that they didn't take action and you were so generous. So in the book, I talk about how to avoid that trap of giving away so much free advice and how to instead use the time to help people have a better understanding of that bigger problem they need to address.
What is the most valuable thing you have ever given away?
When I was moving in with my wife, initially she lived in a pretty small apartment and I lived in a bigger apartment. So I sold or give away half of my belongings. I probably only sold I think I sold $2,000 worth of stuff, and everything else I gave away. If I couldn't make $15 on it, I gave it away. I gave away so much stuff. We literally just had people traipsing through our house, taking things away. I don't know. I don't miss any of it either. Like I can't even remember what was gone, and we've since accumulated so much in the years since. But the money that I sold, I was able to buy her engagement ring, and that to me was like a really nice start to our relationship.
What is one thing that has contributed to your success?
I believe that we've already met 80% of the people we need to know to be successful. And I truly believe that relationships are the answer to any business or life challenge. So I believe the people around me that are what's contributed to my success, and my willingness to lean into them, to engage. The fact that I love hosting and convening. I'm actually on Monday going to drive 40 minutes away to host a dinner gathering for a group of people that are at a conference that I'm not attending.
What?
Because I heard a friend of mine was going to be there, and I realized I know somebody else is going to be there that I've not yet met that I know online, and I thought I can book this. I'll let people know, and I love that. I think building community is so important, and it's such a core part of how I move through the world. So I really think that's been a big piece. The kind of people that I attract. So grateful to the people in my life that hold me accountable, give me advice, and create a safe place for me to grow.
In your businesses, do you have a mentor or a coach yourself?
Yes, a couple of ways. One, I have a peer mastermind that I've been running for, I think, 4 years now. So there's 4 of us that we meet every couple of weeks, and the people have changed over time. Right now, it's an incredible group of people all earning 6 figures, and we're all like rooting each other on. And it's so nice to be in a place where we can both, share our struggle, but also celebrate our wins. I think sometimes celebrating our wins is something that's hard to find a place to do that, and doesn't make people feel bad about it. Like, I think it encourages people in certain spaces. I also have Dory Clark has been a friend and mentor of mine for a 12+ years, and I'm currently in her year-long mastermind. And I have my I call her my systems and processes coach, business coach, Mary Williams from Sensible Woo. And I started working with her at the end of 2020 as my business took off, and I knew that I needed to scale my systems to be able to manage everything. And so much has changed even since fall of 2020 for my business. And she just was with me, and my assistant, Paya Robbins, is another person that I so appreciate her support. And the 3 of us really just managed our way through a huge book launch that led to I piloted a year-long program, and a 5-figure program that basically was tremendous success of learning, but also incredible that I was able to launch something again with a small list. And now I've got new offers we're working on for next year. What
is the most valuable thing your mentors or coaches has told you?
Well, I have a couple of funny moments. Both comments come to mind are from Dory Clark. One was I'm not a person that was very comfortable writing. I've gotten so much more comfortable writing, but that was because I now have had a weekly email for nearly 4 years, and I've now written 2 books. But it wasn't really my forte. The first blog post I wrote 5 years ago, I worried about immensely and asked for so much feedback from so many people, and spent 6 weeks on it. It's one little blog post. And I finally hit publish on my own website. And I said to Dory, now what? And she said, write another one. And it's just so true. Like, you get better by doing it. Continuous improvement is something I deeply believe in. And the other moment was when my first book came out, and I told her that I wanted to do some kind of online coaching program or course or group experience of some kind, and I didn't know what it would look like. And she said, you're going to learn a lot, which I later realized was not advice. It was a prophecy, and true words have never been spoken.
Now you spent 6 weeks writing this one single blog, and I bet now you can just wake up in the morning and within half an hour you just done a blog.
Yeah, no, it's true. I write these weekly emails that have a story with a little business or life lesson, and each one of them has a bit of a twist. The beginning of reading it, you don't know quite where it's going, and they're probably like 400 words. They're not very long. And we do now, years later, I finally started going back. My assistant's been taking them and turning into blog posts. But it's true that like I used to really sweat those details, and now I churn out one of those a week, and some of them are amazing, and people respond and tell me how great it was and how helpful it was. And, you know, some of them probably kind of a little more ho-hum and not as good, but you get better by doing it. And my aim is really, for whatever I'm doing, is to get 5% better every time, because it's that compounded, improvement over time that makes us excellent.
What grounds you?
Oh, what grounds me? I haven't actually thought of this. This is good. I think the people around me. I have this amazing partner in life, my wife. We have these 2 kids, and she's had a belief in me for a very, very long time. Before I knew what I could become, she knew. As we're getting married, she said, "You have a lot of earning potential. You're going to make a big impact in the world." And I was like, "Wow!" I was still working in a nonprofit at the time. So I think that knowing I can come back to her and be real with her, and we have this beautiful home together, that's very grounding, as is like a community of close friends that hold me in these spaces.
What is one thing no one knows about you?
Well, I'm actually just starting to share this, but it's not widely known. I'm not good at hobbies. And I'm actually now talking about it because I decided that my word for 2022 is hobby. My word for 2020 was revenue, which was kind of a sad joke in March, but by the end of the year, I lived up to it. And my word for 2021 has been profit, because earning money for your business is not the same as having money in your business. So I really want to understand my systems for my business and growth around that. But I want to work less next year. I've worked a tremendous amount in the last 2 years, and I love what I do, which everybody knows. But I realized that the only way to like pull back the number of hours I'm working is to replace that with something I'm equally as passionate about. And it dawned on me that would mean having a couple of hobbies to do with myself, to do maybe in a group, maybe virtually, maybe in person, to do with my family, usually with my kids. And I've been soliciting ideas of hobbies, because left to my own, I'm going to just keep working because I love what I'm doing. So I think it would be a really nice change of pace, and probably make me more interesting in social settings, have things to talk about other than the job that I love.
Wow. So what are the hobbies are you thinking about, the ideas you're tinkling with at the moment?
So the ones that have come to me so far, my friend Dorothy Wilhelm, who's 87, suggested Tai Chi sword form. And she shared a video. She's been doing it for 15 years, since she was in her 70s. It's so amazing. It's such a cool idea. And it'd be a really cool community to be in, I think. That was one. Another one was raising butterflies and releasing them. Something I think I could do with my kids. You get some caterpillars, you feed the caterpillars, they cocoon, they become butterflies, you release them. I am planning to install a vegetable garden, but now I'm realizing I might plant some milkweed to make it also a butterfly garden. So that'd be kind of, I think, a fun thing to do with my kids. And then something else that is not quite business related, but I think would help my business, would be stand-up comedy, which Dory Clark has done, and a number of my friends have actually done stand-up comedy. And to them, they've all said it's great as a professional speaker to really step up your game. And that might take a little extra effort given where I live, but I think it could be done. So those are the things that have risen to the surface so far. But I'm open. I'm not yet ready to commit to what I'm going to do. The butterfly thing is probably a definite, because I just think that'd be so cool with my kids.
That would be great. But then the stand-up comedy, have you ever tried it? Do you think you have a knack for it?
I did do it in college twice. Once I knew the audience really, really well, and it was a hit, what I said. And then I used the same material for a different audience, and it bombed. But I have a good sense of humor and comedic timing. I like storytelling. I think that the craft would be really interesting to learn, like I have never learned the craft, and I just think it would be a good discipline. Yeah, I think it'd be really interesting, and I don't know. Also makes me a little nervous, which is partly why I'm thinking it's a good idea to try it.
Wow. What is the most important question to ask someone who's bought from you?
Gosh, I think testimonials are really key. One of the things I've been doing recently, your question just made me think of this, and I'm not sure if I'm fully answering your question, but I've started doing LinkedIn Live and Facebook Lives with people who read my book and posted a review on Amazon. And there's such interesting conversations to better understand like what resonated with people, what actions are they taking, what questions do they have, how are they like applying this to their own business. But they also become a way of other people peeking in to understand the value of working with me, of seeing the value of the books that I've created, to see the kind of questions I ask, the kind of thought process I go through when I'm helping someone. So I think that anytime you want to work with someone, it's good to find out what they're like, what are their values, and how would they approach it. I tend to only hire people that someone in my community has experience with. I'm not as likely to hire someone who randomly reaches out to me. I want to have that assurance that somebody has vetted them.
Let's talk about your business. Tell us more about it and who can join.
Well, I have sort of two ways of approaching adding value into the world. One is I'm a virtual event design consultant and an executive Zoom producer, which means I help organizations strategically bring their events online with less stress and greater participant engagement. So any organization, particularly mission-driven organizations, it could be nonprofits or for-profits that are mission-driven, here to provide great value in the world. I love working with those kinds of organizations to help them not replicate what they did in person, but to reimagine the experience. I'm very thoughtful about purpose-first design, making sure that we're using the tools that achieve the right kinds of outcomes. And I can, host and produce and MC, facilitate, train speakers. I do a little DJing as part of the events too, play a little music. We have a good time. So I love doing that. And then the other side of my business is I'm a business growth strategy coach. I work with entrepreneurs who are probably, like I said earlier, in their 50s and beyond, who are looking to have greater impact and income. They want to try out some kind of new offer. It could be one-on-one. It could be group programs, could be a course. I'm not tied to a modality. I'm not like, 90 days to your evergreen course. I don't really believe in that. But they want to have a good experience. They want to have the right people in their pilot. They want to get it off the ground and they want to learn. And I love seeing the results people are getting. I've been able to do this now for a few years, and the book is being helpful to like let people know how to do it for themselves. But my ideal client for that would not want to do it for themselves. They know that they'll get further faster by getting the support they need. And I just want people to reach out. The best ways to connect with me around the virtual events is I run something weekly called nomorebadzoom.com, which is every Friday at 5 Eastern. I host this event where I answer questions and we do breakout rooms, and it's a good networking space for entrepreneurs. And then for the business strategy side of things, if you go to robbiesamuels.com/patience, you will see the Big Results Toolkit is available. You can also get my new book there, but the Big Results Toolkit has a bunch of different resources in it to help you implement the strategies in the book. So both are accessible at robbiesamuels.com/patience.
Thank you. There will be more from Robbie in a moment. If you are listening to this on a podcasting platform and you are encouraged by Robbie's journey, please go to our website at onlinesuccessjourney.com. The site has tons of audio clips from hundreds of successful entrepreneurs, guests' journeys, all there to help you find the path for your own online success journey. The site offers exclusive members-only content, and you can join absolutely free and be part of this amazing online success community today. Check it out. That's onlinesuccessjourney.com. Now, Robbie, I would love for you to share more with my audience if you're up for it.
Sure.
Thank you. Do you like to watch movies or read books?
Audiobooks and movies. Every week I have a date night with my wife. We watch a movie, or sometimes we watch a TV series over time. Yeah, I like doing that.
So which one are we going to? Movies or books?
Oh my gosh. I guess I'll say movies.
Okay. Tell us, what is your favorite movie that has some relevance to being an entrepreneur?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. I feel like I want to go with books now. Because I can tell you that the answer for books.
Yes.
So Dory Clark published a book called Entrepreneurial You. It's her third book, and it had like 24 or 25 different ways of creating revenue. And it's a little like, overwhelming in a way. You're like, whoa, there's so many things to do. But I love books that teach. I'm like, the kind of books I like to read or listen to are nonfiction business books that are a mixture of theory and action. Like, here's what to do. Follow these steps, and here's why. And I love that. And that's the kind of books I like to write. I like to write really short, quick, like books that are actionable, but I also love diving into bigger ones. But that was a great book. She actually interviewed me in her second book, Stand Out: How to Find Your Breakthrough Idea and Build a Following Around It. And grateful. Been able to be in several books in the last few years, which has always been a nice treat.
If your business was down to its last $100, how would you invest it?
I would probably gather people together in some way. I could do that virtually without spending any money, so that wouldn't cost me anything. What do you think? You know what I'd probably do? I would probably set up a series of coffee chats to do some research calls, and I would offer people a $5 gift card as a thank you to let them buy a little coffee, even though we're not meeting in person. And I would use those 20 conversations to figure out my next idea and find people who wanted to help me get it off the ground.
If you are going to keep a note to yourself in your pocket every day, what would you be written in it?
I actually have a note to myself, and it's something I wrote at an event, I would say like 12 years ago, on a little Post-it. And it says, it's taped to my computer. It says, I have enough, I am enough, I choose to live with abundance.
What would you be doing in 5 years' time?
I have no idea, to be honest. I've changed. Providing value, showing up, that's the key thing. Bringing people together. What form that will take shape in, I'm very open to. I hope to continue doing both these parts of my business for a very long time. I love doing the virtual event production. I love how I'm able to help people create these amazing experiences, both the participants and the companies. But I also really enjoy working both one-on-one and in groups of these entrepreneurs that are so inspiring. And I'm excited. I'm excited about what happens the next 5 years. And I also know that if there's a new opportunity that comes along and I could see like a way for me to jump into it, I'll do that too, because I've now reinvented myself twice in 2 years in ways that I wouldn't have anticipated 3 years ago. So I now feel a lot more comfortable with the idea of doing this and less like a rigid life plan must be followed.
Do you feel like you succeeded or like you're only on the way?
Honestly, I feel on top of the world right now. I feel nervous about being able to keep up this momentum, which is partly why I guess I'm looking for some hobbies to balance things out. My how I measure success, is not just in dollar amounts, because that clearly I've done really well financially, but it's the impact, it's the people I've drawn and attracted to me, it's the way I'm able to help support my family. So right now it feels incredible, particularly how hard the last couple of years have been, particularly in the beginning of 2020, needing to start really from scratch after over 10 years of working towards something, and realizing that I had to shift gears very dramatically, as did the world, as did everybody. I mean, I was not, that's just it. Like, in some ways it was freeing because I could try anything and no one was paying attention to me. Everyone was worried about their own selves and figuring out what they were doing. So that was nice. I want to keep that same spirit of trial and testing, and not necessarily just following, is very much, trying to get people, I don't know, take action and try things out.
Will you ever stop?
Will I ever stop? No, I actually have no intentions of retiring. I think what I'll do later in life will be hopefully a slower pace or less hours or something. But my wife knows this about me too. This is why I love knowing someone like Dorothy Wilhelm, because she's, again, I met her when she was 86. She took my 4-week training in 2020 to become a certified virtual event professional. And she now hosts like several different events on Zoom, and has a producer that I've introduced her to, and is creating great experiences for people. And I love that. I love the way she shows up and offers value to her community. And yeah, I think it'll look different when I'm in my 70s and 80s and 90s, but I think I'm always going to be hosting and gathering people and making introductions and supporting my community. And finding a way to get paid for some of it, and volunteering my time as well. So, when you're good at something and you're passionate about it and it makes a difference, the idea of stopping is just sort of doesn't make sense.
Remind us how we can connect with you once more.
RobbieSamuels.com is where you can learn about the multiple passionate projects I have. And then RobbieSamuels.com/patience is where you'll get the Big Results Toolkit and access to my book, Small List, Big Results. And NoMoreBadZoom.com is to join my No More Bad Zoom virtual happy hour, which is every Friday at 5 o'clock Eastern.
Robbie, it's been great to have you to share your online success journey with us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Remember, success is a journey. Don't wait. Let's start the journey. Patience and Robbie.
This is not the end of the journey. We hope you've enjoyed listening to Patience and her guest, and want you to know there are hundreds of episodes available at onlinesuccessjourney.com. Patience would like to thank you for listening to the podcast, and she has a free gift for you on our website, including an audio compilation of her guests' best tips, uplifting stories, and even a bit of fun. Additionally, there are special clips of over 250 episodes that have never aired on the podcast, and they're only available to members of the Online Success Journey. Check the website and click on Join Now to get free and instant access. Of course, you know that listening to the journeys of others helps each of us chart our own path. So make sure you're subscribed on your favorite platform to be notified as each new interview is posted. There are so many ways to stay connected to the Online Success Journey and listen in. And if you're enjoying the podcast, we appreciate your help in telling others. One of the best ways to share the benefit you get is to rate and review the podcast at iTunes and other sites. We appreciate your help and your willingness to share your journey. One last thing. If you're feeling a bit lost or overwhelmed on your own journey, Patience can help. Check out her course on clarity while you're at the website. Finding clarity is a great way to get back on the right path. On behalf of Patience, and until next time, thanks once more for listening. It is our hope that this podcast will guide you on your own online success journey.